How's it going, everyone? It's good to be back here at Switch Watch. Lovely to see you all. I hope you're all doing really well. Now, what I wanted to do today was get 10 of the very best Metroidvania games that have graced your Nintendo Switch, the Nintendo Switch itself. We've already done a massive Ultimate list that covered 60 plus, which is like a 45-minute video. I'll put the link in the description so you can watch that. But we wanted to challenge ourselves and pick 10 of the very best, and I have to say, because I'm a massive Metroidvania fan, I found this really difficult. We wanted the cream of the crop on this particular list, and we want your opinions, so make sure you get involved in the comment section down below and let us know what your top 10 Metroidvania games would be if you're into that genre. Don't forget, if you are new here, make sure you subscribe for your chance to win a Nintendo Switch OLED. Yes, we're giving one away when we reach 100,000 subscribers, but let's get into it. I'm going to start with one of my all-time favorite games, not even because it's a Metroidvania and it fits this list. It's just one of my all-time favorite indie games. It's Hollow Knight, of course. That had to make this list. Absolute masterpiece, one of the best Metroidvania games I've ever played. The story is told rather subtly, encouraging you to connect the dots and use your imagination, of course. But one of the things that I love about this is that it encourages you to discover more all the time. And the soundtrack by Christopher Larkin is very atmospheric, a joy on the ears, as are those little detailed sound effects. And like any good Metroidvania, there are plenty of areas to discover. Each one does feel rather unique, from the jungle, underground, complete with swirling leaves, to the lake, where it always rains. Everything does look gorgeous, but it's not just about aesthetics, of course not. Each character has those little animations that give them a sense of personality, and the bosses look fantastic and they're great to play against. A really good challenge. Now, you'd never suspect this game was made predominantly by just 3 people over at Team Cherry. Such is the level of detail, and the controls are tight, combat is engaging, and everything here is just very good indeed. Cannot wait for the sequel. Now, next up, I had a choice of either Axiom Verge or Axiom Verge 2, and I thought the sequel was bloody fantastic in every way. But it's just something about the original Axiom Verge that made me plump for that one over the sequel. Don't get me wrong, look, if you get either one, you're going to have a brilliant time. But Axiom Verge, for me, fantastic Metroidvania game where you play as a scientist whom an ancient high-tech world draws him in, and it's a mysterious journey. The game shines. It's an amazing, has amazing level design, spectacular boss fights too, and it was designed by one person. There's over 60 items and power-ups to collect throughout the game, and learning what weapons and setups to use for the puzzles and epic battles are all part of the fun here. Now, the developer Thomas Happ did an amazing job creating this experience. So good that you genuinely want to 100% the game. There's no doubt about it. You're going to want to see the credits roll at the end. It can be a bit challenging at times, there's no doubt of that, but what good Metroidvania game shouldn't be challenging? It never feels unfair, that's the main thing. Truly an amazing game from start to finish, and for me deserves its place in this top 10 Metroidvania list. But what do you think so far? Let us know in the comments section down below. When we talk about Ori, The Blind Forest and Will of the Wisps, both absolutely brilliant games. Which one would you choose to be in your top 10 list? Both are epic, but I liked the sequel on this slightly more. I think it took everything from the original and elevated it to almost the perfect Metroidvania game in terms of what you want from a game like this. The atmosphere created is utterly brilliant. More of the same, but everything has been improved, just tweaked to the point where it can't get that much better. It's a game that runs beautifully on the Nintendo Switch. The character, movement, animation, the story being told is all wonderful, and I was absolutely delighted to see it on the Nintendo Switch, being able to play it on the move. Now, if you do have an Xbox Series X or Series S, you can play the game in 4K, and let me tell you, I've played it on Series X. Looks absolutely outstanding. So that for me had to be in our top 10, but again, the first game is brilliant too. Now, I wanted my dose of horror in this top 10 Metroidvania list, and for me, you know, something was a little bit different about Carrion. I love horror games, and it was something here that was a bit unique. It's a horror game that I reviewed on the channel recently. Very much enjoyed this different take on the genre where you're a monster and have to escape the facility where you've been kept locked in. And on your way, you grow larger by consuming humans, and those tentacles have a further reach. It is bloody hideous, let me tell you, but so compelling. And when you're whacking those humans around the rooms and killing them, eating them, it's just nasty. But I loved every minute of it. Humans will have weapons, but they're no match for your ever expanding monstrosity and those tentacles. Something a little bit different has to be played if you're a horror fan. What can we say about Guacamelee? Guacamelee is a game that needs, for me anyway, no introduction. A magical and creative title, fully embraces the lucha libre wrestling style and mystical folklore of Mexico. Talking about Mexico, has anyone played Forza Horizon 5 yet? That dropped on Game Pass on the Xbox Series X. I'll just tell you, that is an amazing game. Now this mashed together with some humor, and we have a fantastic game wrapping it all together. I just love the artwork here, love the music, love the gameplay. Everything about it just feels right. And that Super Turbo Championship Edition on the Nintendo Switch brings lots of little enhancements as well as new areas to be explored. Now next up we have The Messenger, and I was in two minds whether to include it, because while it is a Metroidvania game in parts, it's not all the way through. However, I enjoyed the game so much that it had to be here. As a demon, an army besieged your village. A young ninja ventures through a cursed world to deliver a scroll paramount to the clan's survival here. Now, what does begin as your classic action platformer soon unravels into an expansive time-traveling adventure, and, you know, full of thrills, surprises, humor. And it's the second part of the game which really changes it up, and it turns more into the Metroidvania that we're all used to. The Messenger is one of the strongest indie titles, bar none, on the Nintendo Switch. I love its style, chip tunes, and all those branching paths later on that you can discover. So for me, well worth its place on this top 10 list. Next up, I'm going for Salt and Sanctuary, often described as a 2D Dark Souls, and in many ways that's really fair to be. It's a hard game. If you took a sort of Dark Souls' challenging combat style and you sort of mixed that into a 2D game with a Castlevania style map, then Salt and Sanctuary is probably what you would end up with. And unlike many of the other titles on this list, the game does not have a deep, engaging story. It's got very little fanfare. All you do is yourself here in a bleak world, and you're struggling to survive. Your progress with focus on combat, and the combat really is fantastic here. And like its inspiration, one wrong move means death, and in this game you will die a lot. It's going to frustrate the hell out of you, but again, it's one of those that if you persevere, it's very, very rewarding. And I would say that Salt and Sanctuary is probably in my top 5 indie games in terms of Metroidvanias especially. I really enjoyed it. SteamWorld Dig 2, absolutely brilliant. The original SteamWorld Dig is a fascinating adventure anyway, with a wonderful exploration and upgrading loop where you played as a lovable robot named Rusty. But this time around you play as his friend Dorothy, and you're searching for your buddy. Now, Image and Form kept much of the same formula. It's still a great adventure about digging in the subterranean world and exploring using the loot to upgrade yourself, becoming stronger, able to sort of delve deeper and explore further. Now here the underground is not randomized either, so instead it's a sprawling world that feels tied up because it's been crafted a lot more carefully, and this time around the RPG elements have been ratcheted up as well. The puzzles have become better, the platforming is tighter, and while still set in a gorgeous steampunk world, it's a joy to play, a must for almost anyone. Anyone can play this and enjoy it. It doesn't alienate audiences like other hardcore titles. Yes, I'm looking at you, Salt and Sanctuary, but you know, that's another conversation. Now, some of you may argue with my decision to include Metroid Dread as one of my top 10, but I really enjoyed this from start to finish, and maybe it's because it was rather streamlined. It's generous with its checkpoint systems, not like other Metroidvania games where sometimes you can get that burnout feeling because you get sort of midway through, you don't know where to go next. This felt tight, and you know, before you knew it, 8 to 10 hours disappeared and I'd completed the game, the credits had rolled. Now, the visuals aren't the best in the world, I'll grant you that, but you know, it's serviceable. I enjoyed the gameplay, I thought the soundtrack was good enough, but I just enjoyed the gameplay, and that, ladies and gentlemen, to me is what it's all about. And so that's why Metroid Dread for me makes it into this top 10 list over some other games. Now, of course, you can make a case for other games to replace this one for sure, but that's my choice. I'd love to know your choice. Let me know in the comments section down below. Dead Cells should be included because it's one of those games. It's a 10 out of 10. It's got quite a few Metroidvania elements in it, and well, it's just fantastic in every way. It's not a Metroidvania in the traditional sense, let's say that. It's more of an action platformer which was inspired by Metroidvania games. You might as well call it a Roguevania. As long as it's got Vania in it, then it makes this list. In any case, it was a game that we reviewed. Jordan actually reviewed this one. He wasn't expecting to love it. I was supposed to be reviewing it, but I wasn't available at the time, and he ended up giving it a 10 out of 10. Motion Twin devs continue to support this game with great DLC, and there's also some fantastic signature edition games out there that you can buy for the physical editions. Now, that's it for this video. We're doing a sort of top 10 list of our ultimate list, because we know that those videos are long and they're not for everybody. If you want to see more like this one, please do let us know if you like the format or not. We're always willing to take on your feedback and change it if necessary. So I know that you guys do like our ultimate list. The videos are long, but some of you have been asking for some shorter ones with just a top 10 in it. So that's this video. And if you like more of this, you want to see a weekly edition of this, let me know that as well in the comment section. And remember, subscribe to the channel if you want to win one of those Nintendo OLEDs, which we'll give away when we reach 100,000 subscribers, hopefully not too far away. I want to thank everyone for your support lately. It's been brilliant. Thank you so much. It feels good to be back. Been working on other projects, so hopefully I can get a weekly segment out to you guys, but I know Jordan and James have been looking after you in the meantime. Take care, everybody. I'll see you again on the next one.